Hey, what's up, viewers? Patrick from Bob vs. Only back in our YouTube video, and this is episode 6 of Spring Lincoln Bars, and today's verse comes out of Romans 1, verse 20, and it reads, "For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse." And that's what that verse means to this morning. It's time for our Royal Rangers recap. Let's get into business, and we're going to start in 2 Corinthians 12. And in 2 Corinthians 12, this is one of the verses Rob mentioned last night. And it says in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 2, it says, "I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of the body, I do not know. God knows." And that's all for the verse portion of that. And last night we continued looking at practicing the presence of God. And I'll share this thing quick. I'll actually share this to you at the end. So here's the operation of grace. I'm gonna read. This is a little. I guess this is a little stuff from Brother Lawrence that we looked at last night. It says, "What he pleases of it. He complains much of our blindness and cries often that we are to be pitied who content ourselves with so little. God said he has infinite treasure to bestow, and we take up with a little sensible devotion which passes in a moment. Blind as we are, we hinder God and stop the current of his graces. But when he finds a soul and penetrated with a lively faith, he pours into it his grace and favors plentifully. There they flow like a torrent, which, after being forcibly stopped against its ordinary course, when it has found a passage, spread itself with, I don't know what that is, in abundance. Yes, we often stop this torrent by the little value we set upon it. But let us stop it no more. Let us enter into ourselves and break down the bank which hinders it. Let us make way for grace. Let us." And there's more to it. But when it says, "blind as we are," that does not mean that we didn't have eyes. We just when he says blind as we are, that's not really actually mean that our eyes were completely shut and we couldn't see. What that means is, I think this might be true, I'm not sure, but basically it means we don't have time to we don't have time to be with God, and we're just so busy. We're so busy and we don't have time to be with God and stuff. And I think that's what that actually means. I'm not sure. It was just that I was just taking a guess. But what's interesting about I'm actually gonna read you a verse quickly before I continue with this because I don't have much time. I gotta go somewhere. Psalm 91 verse 2 says, "I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust." And so last night, what was interesting was I told the congregation in the chat that the one time, I'll tell you this right now, the one time school was virtual, I had no Google Meets, no Zoom sessions at the moment, and I had no schoolwork to do. So I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. I was just sitting here in my bedroom, doing nothing. And then I was like, why don't I pray to the Lord? That I don't pray to the Lord too often than I should. But that's what I did. I prayed to the Lord and, mentioned every request that I thought of and stuff, and it was actually really, that was actually awesome. Also last night, a little bit of fun before I let you guys go. So last night, Rob was using a wireless connection for Bible study last night, and what usually happens when he uses a wireless connection is, if you're we're on Zoom, and if you have a wireless connection, you'll freeze. You can barely see somebody's head moving. It'll freeze, and it froze 2 or 3 times, I think, and then Rob's like, "Does God really? Does God really?" Because when he first said, "Does God really?" it started freezing. And I guess he was trying to think about what he was going to say after that. and then it all of a sudden freezed. So it freezed again, and actually his wife was like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?" And she was like, when Rob actually reappeared, he didn't disappear, but when he reappeared, his screen reappeared. She's like, I felt like a second ago, I was in a cell phone commercial, being like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?" It was hilarious. And then also what's interesting was the other person said, like, it was a cliffhanger because she heard, "Does God really? Does God really?" like 2 times. And it was hilarious. And what was also interesting last night was we got to see their little chicks and stuff. So it was actually interesting. It was a great Bible study. It was worth it. So thanks for watching, and until next time we meet again, viewers. In every way, God's way is always the best way.